So the recording button is on. Okay, so Adhyatmika are the miseries caused by?
The disease of the body.
Yes, misery is caused by one's own body or one's own mind. Yes. Then Adi Bhautika?
The insects or
Others.
Yeah, misery is caused by other living entities, and we saw insects as an example. Yes.
Example.
And Adi Daivika, misery is caused by?
Circumstances.
Adi Daivika. Daivik means what?
Daivika.
Something that's not under our control.
It's circumstances.
Accidents or something.
Natural calamities or something.
Natural calamities, correct.
Natural disasters. Yeah, natural calamities, correct. So Adi Daivika, misery is caused by natural disaster. So these are the threefold miseries of material existence. Those that are caused by our own body and mind, those caused by other living entities, and those caused by natural disasters. Okay, what else did we see in the previous class? What was the name of the boat on which Prabhupada went to the USA?
Jaladuta.
Jaladuta. And his first stop was in?
Boston.
Boston. How old was he?
75. No.
He celebrated
70.
his 69th birthday. I mean, he
69th
didn't
birthday.
celebrate, but his 69th birthday, he completed his 69th birthday on board the Jaladuta. So we saw a poem that he composed when he docked in. What was his first stop?
Boston.
Yes, sorry. So his first stop was Boston, and there he composed a poem. In which language did he compose the poem?
English.
No.
Sanskrit.
He composed it in Bengali, and then who translated the poem?
Not sure.
Who translated? The one who was no, his shipman?
He himself, Prabhupada himself, later translated his poem from Bengali to English. So the translation that we read, that was also written by Prabhupada. But originally he composed it in the Bengali language. Okay. Okay, what else did we see in the previous class? We saw a video.
Yeah, of the boatman and the astronomer.
Yeah.
Who was
Astronomer,
he?
Yeah. Actually, the title of the video is Boatman and the Scholar.
Boatman and the Scholar, yeah.
Yes, that's the title. If you search it in YouTube, you search it with this name, The Boatman and the Scholar. So what did we learn from that story?
That the scholar knew everything, but he didn't knew the basic fundament of life, to swim. So we as living in the material world, we are forgetting our main objective of this life.
Yes. So we may know many things, we may have many opulences, but if we don't know how to remember the name of Narayan at the time of death, then everything else goes for a waste, because again, we are going to be cats and dogs in the next lifetime. Okay. So much for the previous session. Any comments or questions from the previous class, or can we proceed with today's session?
We can proceed with the session.
Okay. So today we will be seeing the different ways of acquiring knowledge. This is going to be our last introductory session, and next Saturday, Krishna willing, we will start with chapter 1. But there are a few concepts that we have to be clear about in our mind before we actually start reading the Bhagavad Gita. So there are 3 ways to acquire knowledge: Pratyaksha Praman, Anumana Praman, and Shabda Praman. We will see each of these in detail today. But before that, we need a volunteer to do the reading. Any volunteers to read today? Naresh.
Me.
Okay. Okay, I saw Naresh raising his hand first. So next class, we'll have you. But today it's going to be Naresh.
If anybody else wants a chance, they can just take it. No problem. We can let everybody others also get a chance.
Okay, I don't know anything. I just need a person to read.
Whatever.
Okay, so there are three ways of acquiring knowledge: Pratyaksha Praman, Anumana Praman, and Shabda Praman. Let's see each of this in detail. Okay, please read.
Pratyaksha Praman, direct sense perception. Knowledge gained. Just a minute. Knowledge gained directly with the senses. Knowledge gained directly with the help of the senses is known as Pratyaksha Praman. The gross senses are the eyes, vision, ears, sound, nose, smell, skin, touch, and tongue, taste.
So what is Pratyaksha Praman? In Pratyaksha Praman, we gather knowledge from our senses. So depending on what we see, we hear, what we smell, touch, and taste, we acquire a certain knowledge. So this does not mean that this is wrong, but it's not always correct. Okay, sometimes it may be correct and sometimes it may be incorrect. So knowledge gained by senses is Pratyaksha Praman. Mostly the atheists, they use this Pratyaksha Praman, and therefore they say that we don't believe in God because we don't see God. They will say, I have not seen God, so I do not believe in God. That is their statement. They say seeing is believing, isn't it? So this is the most famous statement by the atheists. But they don't understand that God is not our order carrier. He's not so cheap, and he doesn't have to prove himself to anybody to come and present himself in front of someone who doesn't believe in him. So usually the atheists, they use this argument. There are many things that we cannot see and we believe in. Can you think of things that we cannot see, but we believe in?
When we see a mountain from far,
Okay, no, but something that we actually see, we cannot see, but it exists.
Like air, but we can feel air.
Air, yes, we cannot see air, but we know that air exists. Very good. What else?
Feelings.
Electricity, yes. Electricity also, we cannot see, but we know it exists. Anything else?
I said feelings. It
Feelings.
exists, but
Yes, feelings. Okay. But things that are, that actually, I mean, yeah, feelings is something that exists, we cannot see, but materially speaking, what really exists?
materially.
What about the children? No answers from the children? Okay, let's see what list we have here. Can you read it, Naresh?
air, AM, FM waves, Wi-Fi, X-ray, gravity, mind, electricity.
So like this, there are many things that we cannot see, but they do exist. So what we see is not always true. Seeing is not always believing. So we have two examples here. Faces look distorted when we see them in a concave mirror, and a pencil appears bent when it is in a glass of water. So not necessary that what we see is always going to be true. Sometimes it can be true, but it cannot always be true. And the problem with Pratyaksha Praman is that all of us, all living entities, have principally 4 defects. So we are going to see the 4 defects of a living entity now. The first defect of a living entity is that we are all limited by imperfect senses. Can you read?
Yeah. 4 defects of a living entity, limited by imperfect senses. We cannot see objects beyond a range of 400 to 700 millimicron.
So we cannot, when an object is too close to our eyes, we cannot see. And when the object is too far also, we cannot see. So our vision is not perfect. Our vision is imperfect. Just because we cannot see some objects beyond a certain range, it does not mean that the object does not exist. We cannot even see who is on the other side of the wall of our house. We cannot see them. But that doesn't mean that there is nobody over there. That person does not exist. Just means that our vision is imperfect. So here we have more examples.
Ears cannot distinguish between hissing of a cooker and a train. Tongue eating orange after sugar, sour taste. Eating orange after lemon, sweet taste. Skin. Some water touched with warm hands appears cool. Touched with cold hands appears warm.
So like this, all our senses are not always going to give us the correct information. So now we come to the second defect of the living entity, invariably illusion.
Second defect of the living entity, invariably illusion. You see mirage in the desert, think there is water. So the eyes, some cannot see that. uh, Sometimes will be under illusion. This is what we mean by saying optical illusion. You may hear a sound, think that my friend has come, and you may open the door and realize that there is somebody else. This is also called illusion. Our senses are limited. Many a times they see some illusion or you hallucinate something. When one takes a painkiller medicine, one thinks in illusion, I am alright now. My disease is gone. But the painkiller tablet doesn't cure the disease. As the effect of the painkiller comes down, one feels the pain again and observes the same old symptoms of disease. And then one realizes that the medicine has just covered the problem temporarily, like covering an untidy room with a blanket to make it look nice.
So invariably illusion, we believe something or we see something, but it's an illusion. It's not necessarily right. For example, now what do you see on the screen?
A man and white background.
Sorry?
A man. Couple sitting. Yeah. Please.
A couple sitting, a man embracing a woman. Is that what you see?
And a white background.
Okay. So actually, this is what it is.
Yeah, dog.
What?
Okay. So this is what it means by invariably illusion. What do you see? Do you see the moving objects or the objects are stationary?
Moving.
Yeah, but actually they are stationary. How many triangles are there in the picture?
6.
6. Any other answers?
Eight.
Nobody wants to count the triangles?
7. 7.
7.
The big one and then the smaller ones and then the triangle in the darker circles in the 7.
Okay. Okay. Any more answers?
It's just an
8,
illusion.
I think.
There
8.
are 0.
8.
zero.
And when the,
Bigger ones and 3 on the
inverted
smaller one.
I only see 2.
Who
and
said
then the
0?
inverted,
There are 0.
Yeah.
Actually, it's 0 because the lines are not connected.
Yes.
Actually,
Actually, there are
zero.
no triangles in the figure. Okay.
Yeah.
They're just,
That's
yes.
just an illusion.
So it's just an illusion. Can you count the legs the elephant has?
Oh my God.
No.
No.
What?
How many legs
The
do
other has spaces.
elephant has?
Yeah, 4.
4. You say 4 because all elephants have 4 legs?
No. Just if you observe it keenly, the rest of them are spaces in between.
Okay. Any other answers? It depends on what is the angle of vision you're looking at. If you look at it from a different angle of vision, then the elephant will appear to have 5, 6, 8 legs also. Okay. So this is again an illusion. Somebody can say that this elephant has 5 legs. Somebody may say this elephant has 6 legs. So anyway, and then what you see on the right side of the screen, are they parallel lines? Are they straight or they are curved?
Straight lines.
Straight lines. But do they appear like they are curved?
Yes, they do.
Some of them,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, but now we know that we are talking about illusion. So anyway, so what we discussed, we began the discussion discussing the ways to acquire knowledge. First one we discussed Pratyaksha Praman. Under Pratyaksha Praman, we are saying that every living entity has 4 defects. We saw the first 2 defects. One is we have imperfect senses. 2, we are invariably illusion. Now let's see the third defect.
A defect of the living entity, tendency to commit mistakes. We may mistake a rope for a snake due to illusion. Science, with all its dramatic successes, has from its beginning also generated widely incorrect accounts. When scientists commit a mistake, it can affect millions of people who faithfully follow them. During the bubonic plague in Europe, scientists found the cause of plague spreading to be the cat. So the government at once ordered all the cats in the whole country to be caught and killed to avoid the spreading of the epidemic. But within a few days after this, the scientists realized their folly and said that the cause of plague was not cats but rats. But it was too late. Rats started multiplying in large numbers as all cats were wiped out. Widely incorrect accounts in science. Earth was considered flat. Electricity and heat were considered fluids. Brain was thought of as an organ to cool the blood. Bats were considered blind. Earth was considered the only place where water existed.
So the third defect of the living entity, tendency to commit mistakes. And we're seeing examples of how even in the world of science, there were many things that were established as facts, but then later it was established that no, the previous fact is incorrect, and now this fact is correct. And after a few years, again, there will be another scientist who will disagree with the previous scientist and say that no, that scientist was wrong, this is the correct theory. So like that, even in the world of science, the theories keep on changing. Okay. And now we'll see the fourth defect of the living entity, tendency to cheat.
To err is human, the, the saying goes, but unfortunately, humans sometimes go beyond innocent error and deliberately propagate untruths. Scientists are not immune to this shortcoming. The Piltdown Man fraud, false evidence of evolution. For many years, textbooks on evolution routinely cited the Piltdown Man as evidence that human beings have descended from an ape-like ancestors. Bone fragments were presented as the fossiled remains of a previously unknown early human. These fragments consisted of parts of a skull and jawbone. said to have been collected in 1912 from a gravel pit at Piltdown, East Sussex, England. It was exposed in 1953 as a forgery consisting of the lower jawbone of an orangutan deliberately combined with the cranium of a fully developed modern human. In other words, the Piltdown man was a fraud.
So for defect, tendency to cheat, and we are using this as an example, the Piltdown man fraud. If you Google it also, you will see a lot of information as to how the followers of Darwin had brought together the cranium of a modern human being and the jawbone of an orangutan. It was brought together, and they said that this is actually the remains of our ancestors, how they would previously look, because they wanted to prove that yes, Darwin's theory of evolution is true. But then later it was exposed that this was brought together and it was not originally that of our ancestors. So if you Google Piltdown man fraud, you can see how this was a great fraud in the scientific world. So tendency to cheat.
Most scientific studies are wrong, and they are wrong because scientists are interested in funding and careers rather than truth. Richard Smith, former editor of the British Medical Journal. The BMJ is a weekly medical trade journal published by the British Medical Association (BMA), and it is one of the world's oldest general medical journals.
Okay, so here is a summary of the 4 defects. Under Pratyaksha Praman, the problem is every living entity has 4 defects. What are they? We have imperfect senses, we are invariably illusion, we have the tendency to commit mistakes, and we have the tendency to cheat. That's the reason why we cannot completely rely on Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksha Praman may be right, but it may not always necessarily be right. Next way of acquiring knowledge is Anumana Praman. Let's see what it is.
Anumana Pramana, theorizing based on observation evidence. Where the senses fail to find the beginning, the mind takes over. The mind's attempt to know what is beyond the reach of the perception is called Anumana reasoning.
So Anumana Praman, theorizing based on observation evidence. So when we cannot gather information from with our imperfect senses, then the guesswork begins. Maybe it is like this, probably it should have been like this, or this must be the truth. It must be, probably, maybe. So all these together constitute what is called as Anumana Praman. And we try to understand this with the example of 6 blind men exploring the elephant, and each one says the elephant actually is a rope. Somebody says elephant actually is a fan. So it depends on which part of the elephant they are exploring. All of them are blind, and what the elephant actually looks like, that nobody knows. So that is Anumana Praman. So this is also going on in the world of science. Okay, it may have been like this, or perhaps it was like this. Who can identify the personality on the screen?
I don't know, maybe Darwin?
Darwin.
Yes, Charles Darwin. Yes. So Charles Darwin is famous for his theory of evolution, isn't it? He said that human being has evolved from the apes. But then he himself, in his book, agreed that he has resorted to wild, imaginative speculation. Let's read.
A practical example of Anumana Praman or wild speculation is Darwin's theory that proposes the idea that human beings might, might have evolved from apes. Darwin tried to find out how life came into this universe with all his researches. When he couldn't make out, he admitted that he resorted to wild imaginative speculation. This he himself says in the introduction to his book The Origin of Species.
Okay.
One day there was a gathering of top scientists from all fields. They had come from they had come for a conference and then there was a lunch. So all of them went out and were having their lunch. On the way on the other side of the compound they saw a man limping. This man was limping on one side and walking. So being topmost scientists, very specialized in their respective fields, immediately each one started diagnosing what his problem could be. They were so experts, so the topmost orthopedic surgeon said, I know what his problem is. That's because and he started to use hi-fi medical language. This particular muscle of this particular bone of this joint, this ligament has tender. Therefore, this has caused the limb to walk like this. And therefore, this is called, and some big definition. Hi-Fi, everything goes above our head, right? Because expert is talking. Then a neurologist came. Absolutely wrong. All his tendon and bones are all right. Actually, he has got something called as cerebral palsy, where the cerebrum is affected by this neuron, and the dendrites are not communicating to the neuron, and therefore this results in blah blah blah, and therefore he is going on like this. Everyone said, "Yeah, makes sense." And in this way, each one came about, and they all gave their explanation about the phenomena. Ultimately, all of them decided, let us confirm with that fellow. So they all decided to call him, and they called him. Please come here. Yes, sir. He walked and he said he is so and so, world famous neurologist, psychologist, etc., and said that this is their opinion about his problem. So we would like to confirm which of us is right and what is the problem. Problem? What problem? I have no problem. Then why are you limping? He says, my slipper is broken and I am looking for a cobbler. I am dragging my feet because my slipper is broken.
Okay, so this is just for us to understand Anumana Praman. And now beyond the two Pramans, or a third Praman, which is the most bona fide, is the Shabda Praman, hearing from a bona fide authority. What are the two Pramans that we have seen so far? The first one was?
Pratyaksha Pramana.
Yes, Pratyaksha Praman. And second is?
Pratiksha Praman.
Pratyaksha Praman. And the second one?
Anumana Pranam.
Anumana Praman. Now we are going to see the most important Shabda Praman. Let's read.
Shabda Praman, hearing from a bona fide authority. Shabda is most important in receiving a valid known. I can't read that.
Valid knowledge.
Valid knowledge, other to epistemic elements. Pratyaksha and Anumana are to assist the Shabda Praman. Objects beyond material nature cannot be known experimentally. These objects are therefore called achintya. That which is achintya cannot be known by speculation or by argument but only by Shabda, the process of hearing from authority. A revealed knowledge is transmitted from the supreme authority, God, to the bona fide and sincere recipients.
Okay, so Shabda Praman means we are hearing from a bona fide authority. That bona fide authority has to be somebody who belongs to a bona fide disciplic succession. Okay, somebody today says that, okay, I'm this spiritual person, I'm a self-proclaimed God man, or I am a self-proclaimed God. He declares that I am an incarnation of the Lord. So all these self-proclaimed God men who do not belong to a bona fide disciplic succession are only there to misguide us. We should not hear from unauthorized sources. It's very important that we hear from a bona fide authority, because basically this knowledge is achintya. Achintya means it is inconceivable. We cannot understand. It's impossible for us to understand. This knowledge is achintya, but the only way that we can understand this knowledge is by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And when we hear from a person in the disciplic succession, then we are blessed with the ability to understand this knowledge. If we try to understand this knowledge on our own, or from without a bona fide authority, without a person who belongs to a disciplic succession, right? We call it Guru Parampara, then we are not going to understand this knowledge. So Shabda Praman is the most authorized way of receiving knowledge. Let's read this.
Why is the Shabda Praman most? There's any word behind?
Authentic.
Authentic.
Most authentic and perfect. Only God is above the four defects. Therefore, knowledge coming from Him is also free from any defect. It is pure and authentic.
So you see in the picture, this knowledge, Vedic knowledge, has come from Krishna to Lord Brahma. In the Bhagavatam, the description is there how at the dawn of creation, Lord Brahma received the 4 nutshell verses. Okay, Lord Brahma is the most intelligent person in the universe. So therefore, all that he requires to understand is just 4 shlokas, 4 verses. And these 4 verses then become the 4 Vedas. Okay, and he has received this knowledge from Krishna via the transcendental flute vibration of Krishna. So like that, Krishna spoke to Lord Brahma. Brahma spoke it to his son, Narada Muni. We know Narada Muni, right? Famous Narada Muni. Narada Muni then spoke it to his disciple, Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva spoke it to his disciple, Sukadeva Goswami. Like that, this knowledge has come down through the disciplic succession, through the Guru Parampara. And we should also attain this knowledge from a person who belongs to a bona fide disciplic succession. Yes, the person who's giving us the knowledge, if we hear from somebody, that person obviously is not above the 4 defects. That person also has the tendency to commit mistakes, has a tendency to cheat, has imperfect senses, is invariably illusion. No doubt about that. But because the message is going to be transferred as it is, as he has heard it from the disciplic succession, the message is pure. So although the person is imperfect, because the message is perfect, it can be relied upon. So the person, the speaker, is only playing the role of a postmaster, just delivering the message. The postmaster does not open the letter and make changes in the letter, isn't it? He is just delivering the letter from point A to point B. So that's what we do in disciplic succession. We just pass on the message from one to the other without making any changes. So how can we understand the vast Vedic literature? There is so much Vedic literature. We have the 4 Vedas, then we have 108 Upanishads, then we have the 18 Puranas, we have Itihasas like the Mahabharata, of which Bhagavad Gita is a part. So like that, there is a lot of Vedic literature, and we just saw that it is achintya, it's inconceivable. But so then how are we going to understand this vast Vedic literature? So if you see in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the very first verse in the first chapter of the first canto says, Tene Brahma Hridaye Adi Kavaye. It translates to, Naresh, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you read the
The
translation?
The Vedic knowledge was revealed by the Supreme Person within the heart of the first created being, Brahma, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the final masterpiece of Vyasadeva. Srimad Bhagavatam is also called as the Amala Purana. Amala means spotless. Okay, so the Srimad Bhagavatam is called as a spotless Purana. It is the 18th Purana, the final masterpiece of Vyasadeva. And it is also called as the Paramahamsa Samhita. Paramahamsa Samhita. Paramahamsa means topmost, and Samhita means book or literature. So Srimad Bhagavatam is that literature which is meant for the topmost transcendentalists. That is the standard of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this Vedic wisdom came down in disciplic succession through oral reception. Oral reception, it was orally spoken. So Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva to Sukadeva Goswami. Like that, up till the previous yuga, this knowledge was passed down only orally. The students, they went to the Gurukul and they stayed in the ashram of their guru and they got the knowledge, but never did they write anything. They never carried books or pens and pencils and make a note of anything. Okay, why? Because they were extremely intelligent. All that they needed to learn was to hear once from their spiritual master or from their guru, right? Once the guru would speak something and the students would remember it for the rest of their lives. Their memories were so sharp. But now in Kali Yuga, our memories have shortened, right? Our lifespans have shortened. Our memories also have shortened. Our intelligence has reduced greatly. Therefore, for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga, Vyasadeva put everything into writing. Let's read this. Vyasadeva makes a prediction about the people of Kali Yuga and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's read.
Srimad Bhagavatam predicts about people in Kali Yuga. You want me to read the
Yes, please.
Sanskrit?
Yes, please.
Prayenal Payushah Sabhya Kalav Asmin Yuge Janaha Mandaha Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hi Upadrite. Translation: O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, men have but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Vyasadeva, a literary incarnation of God, recorded all the Vedas in writing 5,000 years back for the benefit of people in Kali Yuga.
So for the benefit of the people of Kali Yuga, that is us, Vyasadeva has put all Vedic literature into writing. Before Vyasadeva, this knowledge was passed down only orally, right? But Vyasadeva put it into writing because he knew that the people in Kali Yuga are going to have short memories. Now, if we are asked, what did you have for lunch yesterday? We will take some time to think. No, we are not going to immediately be able to even say what we had for lunch yesterday. So our memories have shortened so much. Therefore, for our benefit, Vyasadeva put everything into writing. So Vyasadeva is called as a literary incarnation, or he's a Shaktavesha avatar. Shaktavesha means he's empowered incarnation of the Lord. Empowered means the Lord empowers a living entity to do an activity which is otherwise impossible. So when the Lord empowers somebody to do something, then he's called as a Shaktavesha avatar. So obviously, writing all the Vedic literatures, that too on palm leaves, some 5,000 years back, is not an ordinary task. So he was empowered by the Lord to put everything into writing. Therefore, he is called as a Shaktavesha avatar, or he's a literary incarnation of God.
Srila Prabhupada is also a Shaktavesha avatar.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada also is a Shaktavesha avatar because What's the impossible feat that he achieved?
Translating everything to English.
Translating everything into English
And
At the age of 70, he went to West.
coming to the Western world.
yes, coming to the Western world and preaching in the West in the English language. That too without any sources, no contacts, no money, right? He doesn't even have age by his side. He does not even have youth and not even health. He was not even in good health. So, and then he has taken the chanting of the holy name to every town and village. That was a prediction of Lord Chaitanya. We saw that in the previous class, no? How Lord Chaitanya predicted that my Senapati Bhakta will come and he will take the chanting of the holy name to every town and village. And that's what Prabhupada has done. That's why now anywhere in the world you go, there is ISKCON. ISKCON devotees are there even in countries where ISKCON is banned. For example, Muslim countries, we are not allowed to chant on the road or go out for Harinam. In Islamic countries, they are banned. They are illegal. But even there, this chanting is going on. People are conducting Bhakti Riksha programs in the four walls of their house, right? So anywhere in the world you go, there is ISKCON. And this he achieved in only 10 years. It's the world's greatest success story, actually. But nobody speaks about it. Only the devotees know. Otherwise, externally, outside world, people don't know. So yes, so much for the Shakta Vesha avatar. Let's read this text.
Yeah. The means of Vedic knowledge is to accept an authority and learn the truth by inquiring submissively.
So this is the way to learn Vedic knowledge. It's very different to learn the Vedic knowledge compared to learning our other mundane books, right? History, geography, math, science, and learning of Vedic knowledge. There is a vast difference. Other books we read and we can understand, but Vedic knowledge we will understand only when we accept an authority and learn from that authority in the disciplic succession, and we inquire submissively. If we are going to approach and try to learn the Bhagavad Gita in a challenging mood, right? Let's see what is there in it for me, or let's see where I can find mistakes, or let me test the knowledge of the speaker. If we approach the Gita knowledge with this challenging mood, we are never going to understand the Bhagavad Gita. We have to understand only when we can understand only when we inquire submissively and we accept an authority. So can you identify what is going on in the picture? What's going on in the picture?
There is an open class.
Who is the speaker? Who is teaching?
Sukadeva Goswami.
Sukadeva Goswami, yes. To whom is he speaking? Who is the principal listener? There are many listeners in the audience, but the principal listener there, right below his feet is?
Maharaj Parikshit.
Maharaj Parikshit, yes. Maharaj Parikshit was the son of?
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu, and the grandson of? Grandson of?
Arjun.
Arjuna, yes. And Sukadeva Goswami was the son of?
Vyasadeva?
Vyasadeva, yes. Sukadeva Goswami was the son of Vyasadeva. And what is being spoken?
Bhagavatam.
The Srimad Bhagavatam, exactly. The Srimad Bhagavatam is being spoken. Because Maharaj Parikshit was cursed to die within 7 days. And therefore, he had some questions in his mind. One of those questions was, what is the duty of a man who's going to die? Right? Like that, he had questions. He went in search of the absolute truth. And then he comes across Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami was only 16 years old, but he was a fully realized soul. He's a son of Vyasadeva, and he received this knowledge when he was in the womb of his mother itself. So therefore, then what followed was, for the next 7 days, continuous, no eating, no sleeping, 7 days continuous Bhagavatam Katha. So he spoke the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit. And then other people also gathered there at that spot. This place is called Naimisharanya. Even now, if you visit Mayapur, you can go to this place called Naimisharanya where this Bhagavatam was spoken. Can you identify some of the speakers in the audience?
Narad Muni is there.
Yes, Narada Muni is in the audience, and one more person can be identified because of the
Vyasadeva.
color of his skin. Vyasadeva, yes. So Sukadeva Goswami, actually, he is the son of Vyasadeva, right? So his father also is sitting in the audience and listening to his son speak. And Narada Muni is the spiritual master of his father. So even he is sitting in the audience and he's doing. So it doesn't matter whom you hear from. So the person may be inferior to you in status or in age, but because the knowledge is perfect, it doesn't matter who you hear from. They have no problems in hearing the Bhagavatam Katha from their own son or from the son of their own disciple. So like that, there were many great elevated personalities who gathered at Naimisharanya to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why when you read the Bhagavatam, you will see the Bhagavatam has many conversations within conversations, but the principal conversation is between Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Okay. So basically, the Vedic system has 3 lines of authority. We accept as absolute truth only what we hear from 3 sources. We hear so many things from so many other sources. We may hear from television, friends, relatives, elders in the family. There are or WhatsApp messages, social media. We hear and read so much, right? But we cannot accept everything as true. What we accept as true is only what we hear from 3 lines of authority. What are they? Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. This is very important for us to remember at all times. The Guru and Sadhu will always speak only what is written in the Shastra. Now, if everything is already written in the Shastra, we can read the Shastra. Why do we need Guru and Sadhu? We need Guru and Sadhu so that we can understand the Shastra in the right spirit. Sometimes we may read the Shastra, but may not necessarily understand it in the right spirit. So to be able to understand it correctly, we need Guru and Sadhu. But Guru and Sadhu, a bona fide Guru and a bona fide Sadhu will only repeat what is written in the Shastra. So Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, the 3 lines of authority. And we have to be very careful whom we consider as Guru and whom we consider as Sadhu. Anybody wearing a saffron robe or having a long hair or a shaven head with beads in the hand or just preaching does not mean that he is Guru. There are a lot of self-proclaimed Godmen or somebody who proclaims that I am Guru or I am God, right? All these self-proclaimed people, we better maintain a distance, because a genuine Guru, a genuine Sadhu is one who comes in a disciplic succession. So Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So if you read the introduction of the initial pages of the Bhagavad Gita, you can see the disciplic succession in which this Gita was spoken. So you see Krishna, Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, like that. It has come down, and 32nd name there is of Srila Prabhupada. So this is our disciplic succession. And Prabhupada's commentary, Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, is prominently, he has taken commentaries from the previous acharyas, principally from Baladev Vidya Bhushan, but he has also taken commentaries from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Sridhar Swami, and Ramanuja Charya. This is just for us to know why we accept Prabhupada as authority. So we need to know a few things about the Bhagavad Gita. Let's read them.
Setting the mood. Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. It is also known as Gita Upanishad. It is the most important Upanishad in Vedic literature.
Yeah, so Bhagavad Gita literally means song of God. Bhagavat means God and Gita means song. So Bhagavad Gita means the song of God.
It was spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, to his dearmost friend and devotee Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra some 5,000 years ago. It consists of a total of 700 Sanskrit verses spread across 80.
Naresh, are you
Bhagavad
there?
Gita, yeah,
Uh,
the Bhagavad Gita is considered by the Eastern and the Western scholars alike to be amongst the greatest spiritual book the world has ever known.
So the Gita has 700 shlokas, 18 chapters. It was spoken some 5,000 years ago in a place called Kurukshetra. Even now you can go and see the exact spot where this Bhagavad Gita was spoken. If you travel to India, to Delhi, you can go and visit this place. The exact spot is still there under a banyan tree. And it's not that Bhagavad Gita is only for the Indians or only for India. Even the Western scholars have accepted the Gita to be the greatest spiritual book the world has ever known. Such is the glory of the Bhagavad Gita. Next.
Bhagavad Gita should be taken or accepted as it is, directed by the speaker himself.
So does anybody know a book better than the author of the book? No. It's the author
No.
of the book who knows his book the best. So therefore, the Gita should be accepted as it is directed by Krishna himself, because Krishna is the one who has spoken the Bhagavad Gita.
Krishna tells Arjuna that he is relating the supreme secret to him because Arjuna is his devotee and his friend.
So this also we have to understand. Actually, this Bhagavad Gita is a supreme secret. It is described as Raja Guhyam. It is the most secret of all secrets. And the only reason why Krishna is revealing the secret to Arjuna is because he is his devotee and his friend. A friend is somebody who is not envious. Okay, and he's a devotee. And because of this reason only, Krishna has revealed this knowledge to Arjuna. In the same way, if we want that Krishna reveals this knowledge to us and we understand it in the right spirit, then we have to become a devotee and become Krishna's friend, not be envious of the Lord. This is an important quality to have if we want to understand the Gita in the right spirit. Otherwise, Krishna is not interested. He was not interested in revealing this knowledge to Duryodhan, for example, because Duryodhan was always envious of Krishna. He was not his devotee, he was not his friend.
How Arjuna accepted this knowledge. Arjuna said, Sarvam etad ritam manye. O Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. Arjuna accepts everything that he says without contradicting him. One is not allowed to accept one portion of Bhagavad Gita and not not another. No, we must accept Bhagavad Gita without interpretation, without deletion, and without our own whimsical participation in the matter.
So at the end of the Gita, in the 18th chapter, Arjuna tells Krishna, "Oh Krishna, I accept as truth all that you have told me." So Arjuna is not telling Krishna, okay, I accept this, but this I am not able to accept. I can agree to this, but this I disagree upon. No, he says, I accept as truth everything that you have spoken to me, all that you have said. And therefore, we also must accept the Gita without any deletion. We cannot delete something and accept something and not accept something else. Now, whether we are able to apply it in our lives or no, that is another matter. Okay, we can work towards applying it in our life. But here we are talking about accepting as truth. We cannot say that this part of the Gita is not the truth. There is no question of anything in the Gita that is wrong. Krishna is not there to misguide us. Krishna is not having the 4 defects that we have. Therefore, everything that Krishna says is true. How it is true, only we have to reconcile. That question we can ask. Please explain how can this be true? But everything is true. If we accept something and reject something else, then that is called as Artha Kukuta Nyaya. Artha, Kukuta, Nyaya. Artha means half, Kukuta means hen. Nyaya means theory. So half hen theory. What is that half hen theory? I like the back part of the hen because the hen lays eggs. But I don't like the head of the hen because I have to feed the hen. So I chop off the head. I only stay with the second half. Is that going to work? That is not going to work. We have to accept the hen completely. So no artha kukuta nyaya, no half hen logic, no half hen theory.
Unless one reads the Bhagavad Gita in a submissive spirit, it is very difficult to understand Bhagavad Gita because it is a great mystery.
Yes, Bhagavad Gita is a great mystery, and the only way to understand it is to approach it in a submissive spirit, humble way. If we are humble and submissive, then the purport of the Bhagavad Gita will be revealed to us. This knowledge is revealed to us. We cannot read and understand. We can listen to millions of classes, but if we are not humble and submissive, we are never going to understand it.
A question, is submissive the same to surrendering? Like the submissive spirit, is it the same?
Yeah, submissive is like, okay, I'm submissive is like you're in a mood of acceptance. Surrendering is probably application. There is a slight difference. When I surrender fully, it is the same, and at the same time there can be a slight difference. I may be submissive, but I'm not fully surrendered.
Mean that we should not question anything in Bhagavad Gita. I mean, everything we should just accept. We cannot have logical questions.
Yes, submissive is more a state of mind, and surrender, you can say it's the application of your actions. I may be submissive, but I may not be able to surrender fully because I have some anarthas yet to give up, some bad habits. But I'm very submissive to the instructions.
No, but from what I understood of the other question, I'm sorry, I don't know who spoke, apologies, is that one should not question then.
You can question how it is right. You cannot question, is it right?
Okay.
Okay.
A student has every right to question the guru or the teacher. You can question, how is it right? Please help me understand how it is right. But we cannot question, is it right? You see the difference between the two?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we proceed?
Yeah, please. I'm sorry for the disturbance.
No problem. Okay, last point.
We should at least theoretically accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with that submissive spirit, we can understand the Bhagavad Gita.
So at least theoretically accept. Prabhupada mentions this in the introduction. If you read the introduction of the Gita, Prabhupada mentions this, that at least make this hypothesis. Okay, you theoretically accept in the beginning that yes, I accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then I read the Gita with that spirit, I will be able to understand the Gita in a proper way. But initially itself, we don't accept Krishna as God, then we will be always doubting and questioning, is the Gita right or wrong? Because if I don't accept Krishna as God, then why should I accept that Krishna is speaking the truth? Then I do not accept Krishna as authority. But if we accept Krishna as God, then we have accepted him as authority, and then we can read the Gita and understand it, absorb it better. So at least theoretically accept Krishna as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then we do the course, and at the end, Krishna tells Arjuna, now it is up to you what you want to do. Krishna, at the end in the 18th chapter, he doesn't say, okay, Arjuna, I have spoken to you this Gita, I have given you this knowledge, now do this. That's not what Krishna says. Krishna says, I have spoken to you, I have given you this knowledge, now it's up to you what you want to do. So at the end of, when we finish the course, each one can make that decision. What is it that you want to do? Krishna does not impose. He does not force us. It is up to us to accept it or reject it. Okay. Next.
The Bhagavad Gita is not a religious book. It is the manual of life. It applies to people of all cultures, all religions, all ethnic groups, and in all periods of time.
So many people have this misconception that actually Bhagavad Gita is a Hindu book. It's only for the Hindus. But this is a misconception. Bhagavad Gita is not a religious book. It's not for one category of religious people. It is meant for everybody across all countries, all over the world, all cultures, all religions. Not even once in the entire Bhagavad Gita, you will find the word Hindu. Okay, the word Hindu does not appear even once because it's for everybody.
It is spoken directly by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hence, if one reads Bhagavad Gita, one will be able to hear directly from the Lord Himself.
Yes, when we read the Gita, we are hearing from the Lord Himself because it is His words.
The study of all Vedas, Puranas, and Itihasas are completed in all respects if one studies just this one book. If one reads Bhagavad Gita regularly and attentively, he can surpass the study of all Vedic literatures.
So this we discussed in the previous class, how just by reading the Gita, you can say that you have read all literature. It's impossible to read all this massive Vedic literature. But if you read the Bhagavad Gita, you know just enough how you can go back to Godhead in this lifetime.
If one properly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties of life. One will be freed from all fears in this life, and one's next life will be spiritual.
So we have already seen the threefold miseries and anxieties. We know that material life is full of anxieties. That's why we have so many different kinds of insurance policies. We insure our life, we insure our property, our car, we insure against fire, we insure against theft, we insure against fraud, bank fraud. So like that, there are so many different kinds of insurance policies just because we are living in anxiety. So anxiety is a nature of this material existence. But spiritual world is free from anxiety and free from misery. That's exactly what the word Vaikuntha. We say no Vaikuntha planets or somebody has attained Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means without miseries. Kunta means misery and Vai means without. So Vaikunta is that place where there is no anxiety. There is no misery and no anxiety.
If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reactions of his past misdeeds will not act upon him.
So reactions of our past misdeeds is our past karma. So we can burn our past karmic reactions by reading the Gita. Just by reading the Bhagavad Gita, we are burning our past reactions.
This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed.
So Krishna himself says that this is Raja Vidya. It is the king of education. Raja Vidya, the most secret of all secrets. Raja Guhyam. It is the purest knowledge. Pavitram, Krishna says. And it is everlasting. How is it everlasting? It is everlasting because whatever spiritual credit we get by reading the Bhagavad Gita, we carry that to our next lifetime and next lifetime, next, like that. It is never lost. It's never lost. That spiritual credit we take with us lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And it is joyfully performed. So you will never see a devotee who is morose and sad because he is following the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because when we follow the instructions of the Gita, it gives us so much inner happiness that it is naturally performed in a very joyful mood. Other people may think this person is spiritual, so this person is losing out on the joys of life, they will say no. But actually, this person who is following the Bhagavad Gita is very joyful because he has inner satisfaction, inner happiness. So this is joyfully performed. It is never performed in a morose or lamentation mood.
It reveals the purpose and goal of human existence and helps one to obtain that goal.
Yes. So what is the goal of human existence? The goal of human existence is not to become the CEO of the greatest company. It's not to become the most famous personality or the most famous YouTuber or somebody who's being crowned Miss Universe. All this is not the goal of human existence. What is the goal of human existence? We learn from the Gita. And how to obtain that goal also, we will learn from the Bhagavad Gita.
One should read Bhagavad Gita very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna.
Yes. Why? Because a devotee of Sri Krishna is going to maintain the purity of the knowledge. Because he's a devotee, he is not going to eliminate or delete or add something to the knowledge before he passes on to the other person. And that's why Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has been so impactful. When Prabhupada went to the West, uh, everybody in America, I mean, most people in America were into the hippie movement. The youth were into the hippie movement, isn't it? And Prabhupada succeeded in turning all those hippies into happies. He made so many devotees on the strength of his purity, on the strength of his purity. Before Prabhupada, there were 600 different versions of the Gita. 600 different people had translated and presented the Bhagavad Gita in the USA alone. Only in America, there were 600 different versions of the Gita available. But all those 600 versions did not make even one person a devotee. Not a single devotee was made even after those 600 versions were available in the country. And Prabhupada's one Gita has succeeded in making devotees all over the world. This is the potency of purity. We were discussing in the morning class how somebody drops an atom bomb, it can destroy a whole country, but still it will not change the habit of a person, right? The most powerful material weapon that can destroy a country cannot change the habit of a person. The habits of a person can only be changed when he comes in touch with pure knowledge.
One should try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations.
Yes, we should not try to interpret it. No, Krishna said this, but actually he meant something else. That's not what we are supposed to do. We have to accept the knowledge as it is. So much for the information of the Gita. Let's see the backdrop against which this Gita was spoken.
Setting. On account of being blind, Dhritarashtra was denied the kingdom of Hastinapur. His younger brother Pandu was crowned king instead, but then Pandu died an untimely death, leaving behind 5 sons, namely Yudhishthira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadeva. These 5 were together known as the Pandavas. Since Yudhishthira was too young to rule, Dhritarashtra was crowned king of Hastinapur. Dhritarashtra fathered 100 sons, together known as the Kauravas, the eldest of whom was Duryodhana. Being the oldest in that family and also the son of King Pandu, everyone in the kingdom wanted the virtuous and qualified Yudhishthira to become the next king. But Dhritarashtra felt that because he because he should have been king, his son should have been the next king. Duryodhana tried to kill the Pandavas several times so that he could become the king. But when all his attempts proved futile, he tricked Yudhishthira into losing all his belongings in a fateful gambling match and sent the Pandavas into exile for 13 years. At the end of sorry, At the end of the exile period, when the Kauravas still refused to give the Pandavas their fair share of the kingdom, a war broke out between the two parties. The Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna just before the battle could start at Kurukshetra.
So this is a war between two parties. Actually, they are cousins because Dhritarashtra and Pandu, they were two brothers. Dhritarashtra was crowned king after Pandu died because Pandu's son Yudhishthir was too young. But when Yudhishthir grew big, they refused to crown Yudhishthir as the king because Dhritarashtra wanted his son to become king, and also his own son Duryodhan wanted to be crowned as king. And this was a main issue between the two parties. Therefore, this conversation has happened just before the battle could start at Kurukshetra. So there are 700 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna has spoken most of those verses. Arjuna 84, because mostly the trend is that Arjuna asks questions and then Krishna answers those questions. Sanjaya speaks 41 verses. Dhritarashtra speaks only one verse. The opening verse, the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Dhritarashtra. So the Bhagavad Gita opens with Dhritarashtra's words and it ends with the words of Sanjaya. So between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya's words, you have this conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. What is the relationship between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra?
As the charioteer.
Sanjaya was a charioteer of Dhritarashtra, yes. And?
He got divine vision.
Yes, he got a divine vision from whom?
Vyasamuni.
From Vyasadev, correct. What is the relationship between Sanjaya and Vyasadev?
Well, I think this is the story that I've heard. It's that charioteer is the most trusted person the king can, go to. At that time when Lord Vyas comes in, he says, I want to go to war too. Like, I want to, I can't see the war, but I can hear. And then I think that's the time when Vyasadev ji will give Sanjaya that divine vision to be able to see and also narrate that to Dhritarashtra. I think that's the story.
Okay. No, but what is the relationship between Sanjaya and Vyasadev? Do they have any relation? Other than the fact that Sanjaya got the vision from Vyasadev, is there any connection between them?
I'm not aware of it. I don't know.
Anybody else knows?
No.
Okay, Sanjaya was also a disciple of Vyasadev.
Oh.
Okay. Now, what is the relationship between Dhritarashtra and Vyasadev?
Actually, father, son.
Yes, father and son, correct. Vyasadev was the biological father of Dhritarashtra. So before the war began, Vyasadev wanted to give the divine vision to Dhritarashtra to be able to see the war. Okay. And Dhritarashtra was born blind. Therefore, Dhritarashtra said, I have been blind all my life. Now, I don't want to have any vision because I don't want to see the death of my sons. So therefore, Vyasadev gave the divine vision to Sanjaya, so that Sanjaya, sitting in the quarters, sitting in the palace, in the quarters of Dhritarashtra, he was able to see the live telecast of the war and he was able to narrate the war to Dhritarashtra. So that's the relationship between Vyasadev and Sanjaya, Vyasadev and Dhritarashtra. So Sanjaya speaks 31 verses. Okay. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are 5 basic subject matters. Can you read, Naresh? What are the 5 subject matters?
5 basic truths entailed in the Bhagavad Gita. 1. Ishvara, God. 2. Jiva, the living entity. 3. Prakriti, the material nature. 4. Kala, time. 5. Karma, activity.
So these are the 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita. So Jiva, living entity, it answers the question, who am I? Who am I? 3, Prakriti, material nature, answers the question, where am I? Where am I? Then karma, activity, answers the question, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Kala answers the question, how long have I been here? How long have I been here? And finally, is there something beyond all this? Is answered when the subject matter of Ishvara. Is there something beyond all this? Ishvara. So these are the 5 subject matters of the Bhagavad Gita. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing here? How long have I been here? And is there anything beyond this? We will see this as we do the chapters. So time for questions.
1 second. Can we go back to the other slide?
Yes.
So who is Jiva?
Yes.
Who am I? Jiva.
Yes.
Kalmao. I'm writing down.
Okay.
So who? It's the question of who am I?
Yes.
Then Prakriti was
Where am I?
where? Okay. Kala, time. When?
What are we doing now?
How long am I here is Kala.
Yeah.
How long am I here? Here in the material nature. Karma. Karma is what am I doing here?
Yeah, karma is what? Okay.
And Ishvara,
Thank you.
is there anything beyond? Did you write that?
Yeah.
Okay. So any questions?
I have one. Can you go back like 5 slides? I don't know, 5 or 6. Where they, yeah, just stay on this. Here in the first line, it states the Bhagavad Gita is not a religious book. It's a manual of life, and it applies to people of all cultures, all religions, all ethnic groups in all periods of time. But you just stated that Islamic countries, they don't, it's like illegal to promote Hari Kirtana.
Yes.
So why is, like, if it's considered manual of life and it applies for all people of all cultures, then why it's banned over there?
Because the people who have imposed the rules are the ones who do not understand the knowledge. It's not that the Gita has said that this should not be read by the Muslims. The people have imposed the law, and the lawmakers are the ones who do not have the required knowledge on this. But it is meant for everybody.
It's that they have not accepted.
Yeah, because they lack the knowledge and they lack the mood in which the Bhagavad Gita should be accepted. They do not see. I don't remember the name of the invader, but I was reading about this Muslim invader who invaded India, and he read in the Bhagavad Gita that everybody should promote their swadharma. Everybody should take care of their swadharma. Okay. Now, swadharma means what? Now, the word dharma can be interpreted in so many ways. Dharma can mean duty. Dharma can also mean religion. So when the Gita talks about swadharma, it talks about our duties. Everybody has a certain duty to fulfill, right? But he interpreted the word dharma as religion. And he said that, no, I should promote my religion and I should promote Islam. I should promote. So he went all out to actually went all out to convert a lot of Hindus into Islam, because that's how he interpreted the book. But that's not what the Gita has taught him, or that's not what the Gita teaches anybody. But he has misinterpreted that book, and he said, no, the Gita says this, so I want to promote Islam. So these are
Okay.
people who
His
have
interpretation
who
of
are
Swadharma
misguided.
was wrong. So his interpretation of Swadharma was wrong.
Yes, yes. That's the problem. That's the reason why we should learn from a bona fide authority and learn it correctly. So the people who ban this are people who are misguided. They do not understand it in the right spirit.
Okay, I have another question of the relation what you spoke about Dhritarashtra and Vyasadeva. So you told that Dhritarashtra, what how to pronounce
Dhritarashtra.
okay.
Dhritarashtra.
Yeah, he's the biological son of Vyasadeva, correct?
Yes.
So we understand that we have always seen like from these mythological movies and the teleserie that Dhritarashtra was a cunning king, right?
Yes.
But Vyasadeva, how we said, okay, as father as son, right? So if you're a good father, obviously you're setting a good example for your son. All the qualities of father will be in the son too.
Not
And Vyasadeva who wrote like 5,000 Vedas.
4 Vedas.
Okay, okay, 4 Vedas. How can his son be so with such you get me what I'm trying to.
How
So
can he
you
be
want
so
to know,
cunning?
yeah,
How
Yeah,
you
can
but
he
want to
be
know,
so
yeah.
bad?
Yeah, so your question is how come the son doesn't have the qualities of the father, right?
as of the father, correct.
Yes. So a lot depends on the mood of the parents at the time of conception. A lot of our consciousness depends on what was the mood of the parents when the man and the woman they united. Okay. And when Dhritarashtra was conceived, his mother was not very happy. Dhritarashtra's mother, when she saw Vyasadeva and she was told that she has to unite with him, she was very unhappy. She was very agitated. In fact, she looked at Vyasadeva with so much disgust because see, Vyasadeva he came from the forest and he was all dirty and dusty. He was in deep meditation in the forest and he was called by Satyavati. Do you know the story of how they united?
No.
Okay, so Satyavati was the queen and her sons, she had 2 sons. Both her sons died before they could produce children. Okay, but one of her sons got married before he could die. So there is this kingdom, but there is nobody who can be crowned king. There is Bhishma Dev, but Bhishma Dev has taken the vow that he will never get married. So now Bhishma Dev cannot produce the future king. And Satyavati has no sons. She has 2 daughter-in-laws. Now, how will the daughter-in-laws have a son and who is going to rule in the future? So the Shastra says that under such a situation where there is no heir to the throne, with the permission of the elders, the daughter-in-law can be allowed to unite with the brother of her husband. Only under this circumstance to produce a heir and with the permission of the elders of the family. So Satyavati has a son called Vyasadev, which she had from before marriage. Before she got married, she had a son called Vyasadev from Parashar Muni. Now that is another story to justify her son from Parashar Muni. Okay, we can discuss that also, but let's first complete this story. So Satyavati remembers that she has a son called Vyasadev, and technically Vyasadev is her son's brother, right? Because the son who died, he's the brother. So she calls Vyasadev and she tells Vyasadev to unite with her 2 daughter-in-laws so that they can have sons and there can be someone who can be crowned king. So Vyasadev just came from the forest and he's a sage, he's a great Muni, and he was all dusty and dirty with his long hair, long beard. But then Satyavati said no. So Vyasadev said, "Give me some time. I will clean myself. I will have a bath and I will make myself presentable, and then I will unite with them." But she said, "No, no, I cannot wait. I don't want to take any risk. I don't want to delay this any further. Please do it right now." She was so anxious. So Vyasadev said, "Okay, I'm here to follow your instructions." It's his mother who's giving him an instruction. So when Vyasadev went to her room, she looked at him with so much disgust that she immediately closed her eyes. Okay, so Dhritarashtra was conceived under this mood of fear and anger and resentment. Because the mood of the parents is like that, it determines the consciousness of the child. That's why in our culture, sorry?
Is this written in, like, this story is written in the Bhagavata?
It's in the Mahabharata. This is from the Mahabharata.
But for example, when you say that the born with the mood of the parents at the time of conception, that
Yes, that is written in many
that
Shastras.
explanation,
Yes.
is that in the Shastras?
It's there in the Shastras, and also
In the
also
Bhagavatam?
list. I have a list that Prabhu Nirantara has sent me. Okay. There is also the Bhagavatam also describes how. So anyway, this is to answer your question, Mehek. He is like this because the consciousness of the parents at the time of uniting determines the consciousness of the child.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
so much.
So now coming to this also, that's why we say that we don't go out at what is that called when the day has not ended and the night has not yet started? We call it Sandhya.
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 Right? Sandhya.
Dusk.
So
Yeah,
Sandhya, so we say we have heard from our elders, no, that's at the time of Sandhya, there are so many things that we don't go. We don't go out with the hair open, right? If the woman is in her menstruation, she avoids going out at the time of Sandhya. And the Bhagavatam has a statement that at the time of Sandhya, Lord Shiva comes. He is going around. He's around with his ghost followers. Now, one of Lord Shiva's names is Bhutnath. So he is the well-wisher of the ghosts and the spirits. Okay. Therefore, at the time of Sandhya, he is walking around with his followers. And if a man and woman are uniting at the time of Sandhya, then thus he drops the soul so that soul, that ghost or spirit soul, can get a human body. And a child that is conceived at the time of Sandhya is a child who is going to have demoniac tendencies. His consciousness is going to be more demoniac than divine. So a lot determines what is the mood or the consciousness or the time at which the man and woman unite. That's why there are children, you will see some children are very violent. They have more demoniac tendencies, and some children are so divine and so tranquilo, they are so quiet. So that, how come the child is like that? The child is like that because, yes.
Do you have the reference of the Bhagavati of that?
Yes, I will send the exact reference in the group. Okay, but for now, sorry?
No, because there is scientific evidence of what you're saying.
Ah, okay. So anyway, all knowledge comes from the Vedas. So yes, a lot. The consciousness of parents is very important, and that's why we have the Garbhadana Samskara. We do the Garbhadana Samskara. What is the Garbhadana Samskara? The Garbhadana Samskara is the couple are told that this is an auspicious time to unite, and this is an inauspicious time to unite. Previously, when a couple would get married, the priest would tell them that you unite at such a time. That's the Garbhadana Samskara, and a certain ceremony is done in order to purify the consciousness of the couple. So if the couple are uniting under because of lust, see, if a child is conceived on a Saturday night over a glass of whiskey, the child that is born to that couple is going to be very different from a couple who are devotees and who have been doing some religious practices during the day, and they unite. The consciousness is going to be very different.
It's scientifically proven.
Okay. Okay. So I'm glad that there is no conflict here.
In the modern science.
Okay.
In modern science, not in Sankhya or Vedic science.
Okay.
Isn't it also what we have done in our past lives that get us back?
Yes, the consciousness. The parents are getting a soul. Yes, that soul is carrying the consciousness from the previous lifetime. So what kind of a soul is getting attracted to the womb of the mother, that is determined by the consciousness of the parent. It's not that the child is getting that consciousness. The parents are attracting the soul with a particular consciousness depending on the on the consciousness and the time of conception. Of course, the soul is having that consciousness from the previous life. It's not that the soul is developing a certain consciousness. Of course, there are things that we can do after a child is born. We try to cultivate and teach the child and give him the knowledge and send him to classes. So yes, we can do all that, but that is only a reaction to a situation that is already present, because we have already invited or we have already attracted the soul with a particular consciousness in the womb. So that is just a reactive way of dealing with things. But the proactive way of dealing with things is you unite in such a time and with such consciousness that you will attract a divine soul. Okay, no more questions? So I will share the pictures from the slides in the WhatsApp group, and I will look up the reference of Lord Shiva from the Bhagavatam and I will send it.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
All right then. Thank you all very much. I hope to see you.
Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I want to write something here.